This is our Chapter 8, Lecture number 4, and in this lecture we will discuss West, Central, and East African subregions in our Chapter 8, discussing diversities in development. This set of 3 portions of Africa south of the Sahara contains 32 countries, 72% of the sub-Saharan African land area, 80% of the sub-Saharan population. It's a more tropical environment owing to the proximity of the equator. There are lower levels of European settlement, especially in the interior, less industrial capacity, and immense geographical, cultural, and economic diversity. Let's start with West Africa. The southwestern part of West Africa has good agricultural potential, with the Niger, Senegal, and Volta rivers in this region. Elevated areas include the Fanta, Dalian, and Yos highland regions. There are numerous landlocked countries of interior experience experience low amounts of precipitation or occasional droughts. Ethnic conflict and colonial legacy interfere with development even in this day. Regional cooperation, as we've seen in many cases in other regions, can result in better economic conditions. We'll discuss 3 countries in West Africa, in particular in this lecture, Côte d'Ivoire, Ghana, and Nigeria. Côte d'Ivoire, is this a model of African capitalism? This country is the closest to exhibiting capitalistic characteristics. It has a diverse agricultural base with coca, coffee, timber, and palm oil leading the agricultural production. Minerals are in good supply, including diamonds, iron ore deposits, and petroleum. Petroleum production in Côte d'Ivoire expanded with 2 new sites in 2013. Industry in the region includes food processing, beverages, wood products, oil refining, gold mining, truck and bus assembly, as well as providing electricity for itself and neighboring countries. There has been a certain amount of state-led capitalism since independence. The economic jolt in the 1980s led to the acceptance of World Bank and International Monetary Fund structural programs. $4.4 billion of indebtedness relief was granted in 2012, drastically aiding the economy. Civil war after 1993, and ultimately the country was reunited in 2007 with full peace restored by 2011. This country has close ties to France and is attempting to open new trade networks beyond the regional networks, especially in Asia. Ghana was the first colonized sub-Saharan country to gain independence. That occurred in 1957. Ghanaian intellectuals are credited for external and internal politics that led to the independence. This country has had a stable government since the 1980s. The mid-1960s to the mid-1980s recession and military coup resulted in declining foreign investments and a brain drain, where the intellectuals of the country felt that it was best to leave due to the dangers of residing in this particular country. However, working with the World Bank and the IMF, they devalued the currency, cut the government workforce, measures of austerity, and changed protective economic policies to improve interactions with the global economy. While the coastal and interior inequities still exist with internal policy and expanding world markets, expectations are high, provided that the internal political situation remains stable in the long term. Agriculturally, coca, rice, cassava in two forms, manioc or tapioca, peanuts, corn, shea nuts, bananas, and tropical timber all are the primary agricultural products. Industry includes mining, lumbering, light manufacturing, aluminum smelting, food processing, cement, and small commercial ship building, and some petroleum as well. Nigeria is the most populous country. Its potential upon independence was considered to be high. Oil boosted the economy into the 1980s, but the economy stalled due to the geopolitics of oil, ethnic divisions, military rule, corruption, and mismanagement of human resources. Oil still dominates the economy today, with foreign investment driving development of the resource. With 250 ethnic groups and 500 languages, the economic disparities, civil war from 1966 to 1970 was followed by military rule for the next 25 plus years. Democratic reform was strong at the start of the 21st century until Islamic Sharia law began to dominate the northern part of Nigeria. This country surpassed South Africa as Africa's largest economy in 2014, but high levels of poverty remain a problem, especially on the interior or in the interior. Agricultural products include coca, peanuts, cotton, palm oil, corn, rice, sorghum, millet, cassava, yams, and rubber. Also, cattle, sheep, goats, pigs are important. Fishing is an important economic activity, and timber also provides an important contribution to the agricultural economy. Industry includes crude oil, coal, tin, columbite, rubber products, wood, hides and skins, textiles, cements, and other construction materials, and food products. Here we see a map of Nigeria and some of the production regions for agricultural and industry. We see the north strong in peanut and cotton production, with textile manufacturing. There also are tin mines, columbite in the north. Motor vehicle assembly plants are also a small economic boost. To the south, we see coca production, palm oil, and rubber as being important. Also, this area has the most coal, oil, and natural gas for the country. The Economic Community of West African States was created in 1975. It is the largest of Africa's regional organizations with 15 members. Its objectives are to create a common tariffs, common customs tariff, common trade policy, free movement of capital and people, much like the European Union, harmonization of agriculture, communications, energy, and infrastructure policy. They also have a non-aggression policy and provide for mutual defense. The second region or subregion of Africa south of the Sahara discussed in this lecture will be Central Africa. This is the equatorial region, and tropical conditions prevail. There is rapid population growth, political instability, human welfare compromise. All these things compromise development. In this particular region, we'll discuss the countries of Central African Republic, Gabon, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. Central African Republic is landlocked. Movements of commodities must use both water and rail for exports and imports, and this becomes very expensive for a number of reasons. First, they must depend on neighboring countries for goods and transportation as well, and ensuring exports and imports from theft, vandalism, and perishability add even more to these transportation costs. Despot rule, poor infrastructure, and social programs, short life expectancy all hamper development. Recent revolutionist leader is moving to general elections that should occur in October 2015. Resources are good but are underutilized. Low levels of education, unstable political environment continue to hamper that development. Agricultural products include coffee, cotton, tobacco, cassava, yams, millet, corn, bananas, and tropical timbers. Industry includes gold and diamond mining, as well as lumbering or logging. Gabon is one of the most prosperous nations south of the Sahara. Its small population, abundant natural resources, and considerable foreign support have helped to make it one of the more stable African countries. Agroforestry methods provide better sustainability of large forest resources, and these have been well implemented. Disparities in prosperity have resulted in the exodus from the rural areas, however, into the urban areas, especially along the coast. Oil on the coast supports a majority of export income. There have been recent improvements in education as well as life expectancy, health of the population. And agriculture includes coca, coffee, sugar, palm oil, rubber, cattle, tropical softwood lumber, and fishing. Industries include petroleum extraction and refining, manganese, gold, chemical processing, ship repair, food and beverages, textiles, lumbering, and plywood. The Democratic Republic of Congo is the largest nation in sub-Saharan Africa. Brutal Belgian colonial rule was followed by autocratic dictatorship. While there are plentiful natural resources, including copper, cobalt, gold, petroleum, and more, this has not been fully exploited. This country contains much of the Congo River Basin with valuable timber and hydroelectric potential that is yet to be realized. Agriculture is well developed for cotton, rubber, coffee, palm oil, bananas, and more. Human resource development is the lowest in Africa, with poor education, high female illiteracy, and high child malnutrition. Investment in the population and education and healthcare is also low. Continued political turmoil limits any future development, as we've seen in many cases of other regions. Agricultural products include coffee, sugar, palm oil, rubber, tea, cotton, coca, cassava, bananas, plantains, peanuts, root crops, corn, fruits, and wood products as well, with industry primarily based on mining of a variety of minerals that are available, as well as processing of those minerals. East Africa, our last region, consists of 10 countries with 26% of the land of south of the Sahara and 37% of sub-Saharan Africa's population. This area is characterized by higher elevations and cool temperatures. It has less forest cover than the other regions discussed. We will discuss the countries of Somalia, Tanzania, and Ethiopia, as well as Kenya. Somalia is located on key international sea routes for oil shipments originating from the Persian Gulf on the eastern point of Africa. It's the only country close to the Western concept of a nation state, with national or ethnic boundaries conforming with political boundaries. The Hamitic group, Somalian ethnicity, shares a common language, shares a pastoral way of life, shared poetic corpus or literature, and common political culture. The country is noted for a lack of effective central government. Government tends to be based on clanocracy, which is well described on page 388, and you should make sure that you review this particular section, perhaps reread it, and clan warfare. The This clan warfare often results in alliances and broken alliances as economic conditions shift in various ways. This is a recent home to pirates who have interfered with shipping in the Gulf of Aden, as well as in the Indian Ocean, and piracy still is an issue in this particular region. The fragile state of Somalia has had no formal government since 1991. It's fragmented by a variety of interests and ethnic groups. Regions are controlled by Al-Qaeda, Hizbul Shabab, and other radical Islamic groups. Clan clashes over water and pasture rights are extremely common. Agriculture includes bananas, sorghum, corn, coconuts, rice, sugarcane, mango, sesame seeds, beans, cattle, sheep, goats, and fishing as a coastal country. Industry includes basically just light industries and sugar refining and textiles. Industries that do develop are primarily in urban areas, and in addition to production, must focus on serious security issues to protect any profits and the commodities that they trade. This map on page 388 of your text shows a breakdown of the various clans and groupings within the country, clan-based opposition in the regions in orange, with rival warlords prevalent in the south, Islamic resistance in the green areas. Transitional government has control of the Horn of Somalia, as well as some of the urban areas towards the south, and there are a few neutral or unaligned clan groups in central and eastern part of the country. Tanzania and Ethiopia, both are socialist countries with socialist principles sought to be instilled in these countries in the 1960s and 1970s. These policies were designed as an antithesis to the European colonial rule. Tanzania received some measure of social equity in healthcare and education, not uncommon in a socialist country. Nationalization of industries, though, has slowed production, as capitalistic drive has not made them more efficient. There has been forced communalism in villages and in farm for the factories and agricultural production. The result has been improved social conditions to some degree, but these socialist governments have failed to create a robust economy. Present-day Kenya, our last country, is molded by British intrusion and colonialization. It has temperate highlands, rich volcanic soils, settler colonies, and there was land displacement of African indigenous population. Kenya achieved its independence in 1963 and inherited an agricultural system based on large-scale commercial estates owned primarily by Europeans and Asians. It remains a fairly stable yet authoritarian country. Agricultural products include tea, coffee, corn, wheat, sugarcane, fruit, vegetables, dairy products, beef, fish, and pork. Industry includes small-scale consumer goods, plastics, furniture, batteries, textiles, clothing, soap, and flour. Agricultural product processing, horticulture, oil refining, aluminum, and steel round out their industrial base. Nairobi, Kenya, the largest city, dominates the urban landscape. It has a population of 3.2 million people. That's 40% of the urban population of Kenya, and has a 6.3% growth rate. As a primate city in Kenya, the government has sought to discourage rural to urban migration here and mitigate the dominance of Nairobi. They are doing this through a regional decentralization strategy, supporting industries in other smaller urban areas, as well as supporting movement of the rural population to these areas. Well, that completes our Chapter 8, Part 4, or Lecture 4 discussion. We will move on to Chapter 8, Lecture 5 next, and I look forward to talking to you then. Thanks.